This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is, locked and loaded and ready to go. How you feeling, my man? Good morning.
Good yourself. I'm trying to see what your hat says here. What's your hat? Miami something.
It's an Inter Miami hat. Jeez.
Oh, sorry. Not familiar with that. Sorry, not a soccer person.
Anti-soccer people.
I'm not anti-soccer. I'm just not pro-soccer. There's a difference.
Okay. All right. So you hate it. All right. We understand. Can't stand it. You want it to go away. Okay. That's all right.
Nope. I don't want it to go away.
Okay.
No, some people enjoy it. More power to them.
I don't know if I misquoted you, but earlier you are the one that said last week that Aaron Rodgers would be the guy that thinks he can handle the media in New York and all that. You were the one that said that?
I said that
last week. Like he's so arrogant that he would think he could go there and, oh, no, I can handle them or something. Was it you last week that said that?
Yep, that sounds like me.
Yeah, because it's funny because it seems like Derek Carr's now going to New Orleans, right? So the Raiders said that they're not really going for a quarterback this offseason because they don't feel they're a quarterback away, which way to assess it. You are not. But anyway, so now if Derek's going there, you know, who's going to end up with the New York Jets now? Is it going to be Rodgers or is it going to be Garoppolo now, right? Because now their options are drying up here overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who else? Jameis Winston. They're running back with Zach Wilson. Who else? That's pretty much it.
By the way, if I'm what's it called? Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I would sign Jameis Winston.
As a backup to Russell Wilson?
Yes. Did you see Jameis Winston's stats under Sean Payton before, you know, everything was going? It was like 15-3 or 14-3, the touchdown to interception ratio or something like that. He was actually having some success with him. And so it's not going to cost you a lot of money. And obviously, you know, you got cap issues there because you're paying Russell a lot of money. But just in case the Russell thing goes awry, you got a guy kind of waiting in the wings. That would not be a bad destination, I think, for Sean and for Jameis.
Yeah, the only thing is that there's so many teams that have question marks at quarterback that I think Jameis Winston can put himself in a position, and I'm thinking like Washington, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. I mean, there's Las Vegas, the Jets. There's so many teams that have question marks at quarterback. I kind of get the feeling Jameis Winston could probably hold off and go someplace where you actually have some kind of a shot to start, which ain't happening.
Like the Washington one. That's pretty good on your part, dude. That's a good one there because they've got the new offensive coordinator there now. He's got to kind of, can you imagine he also is able to resurrect Winston's career and runs the offense? That would kind of be the breakthrough that he needs to kind of say, okay, no, that's the guy. Let's give him the head coaching job. You know, that kind of stuff. That's a
and
good
they
call.
have talent on offense. It's not like they have talent on offense. They have some guys. Terry McLaurin's a hell of a wide receiver.
I love McLaurin, dude. He's an awesome receiver, bro. Awesome. Love that kid.
The kid they drafted a running back whose name escapes me right now for some reason. It's a nice player too.
Yes.
Brian Robinson, is that his name?
Yes, Robinson. Yes, that's him. Yeah.
Well,
he got shot too, right? Wasn't that the kid that also got shot?
Yeah, and he came back. That's a team. They get good quarterback. I know you're a big Taylor Heineke guy. I'm not.
As a backup.
Okay, they get decent quarterback play. That's a team that can make some noise.
Yeah. I'm not. Again, I've never been a Dalton guy, but if you give him to me as a backup, I'm good with that. I think that's kind of his role. You know what I mean? There are some guys that it's kind of like I don't want Leslie Frazier or Wade Phillips as my head coach, but dude, you want to give him to me as my defensive coordinator?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. Let's go.
Yep.
bring it on, baby. You know what I'm saying? So some
there are a lot of
guys
guys like that
are a
too.
lot sexier in other roles. That's all.
No, there are a lot of guys like that who have been great coordinators. I might suggest Dave Wanstead was a very good coordinator. He was not necessarily a great head coach.
North Turner.
North Turner.
North Turner, I thought, did a terrific job here as an offensive coordinator. But do you want him really as a head coach? It's weird how it doesn't really, jive, overall. It's crazy.
Well, I think the personality comes into play where if you're a coordinator, if you're like a brilliant X's and O's guy, or even if brilliant's too strong a word, if you're a really, really good X's and O's guy, you can get away with having just that. If you're a head coach, you have to be able, to lead a team in addition to being a good X's and O's guy. And some guys just don't necessarily have the personality needed because there are certain traits that you have to have, and it may not be it's not in your personality to be a leader of men.
Right. Yeah. No, you're 1,000% right. All right. So a week there at the combine, outside of terrific garlic rolls at Kilroy's, what else did you learn?
Excellent Turkish place, a little off the beaten path. No, I'm just kidding. What did I learn? I learned that once again, everybody's going to make too much of combine performances. And I'm going to go back to Dan Campbell's statement when he spoke, where he talking about, like, I'm going to go back to the tape instead of what guys do in pajamas. Having said that, it's really hard not to look at a guy like Anthony Richardson and not have your eyeballs pop out. I mean, completely freakish. And there was a comp that I saw before, like Josh Allen, and you can see it where sometimes the mechanics of throwing aren't there. That's why he was kind of inconsistent in college. But he's also really tall, really fast, and got a big arm. And I don't know, and that's the thing. I mean, could he become that kind of guy? Not that we should be spending a lot of time talking about Anthony Richardson because he's not somebody.
I love the conversation because I think, part of what I was going to piggyback on when you were talking about this was you got to make sure you have a exceptional QB coach. You better have somebody that truly understands quarterbacks, because if he doesn't have a reputation of truly developing guys, then it's a waste to get a guy like Richardson because he's so raw. I think he really needs a real good QB coach to kind of get him to that place that you want, the talent to reach the quarterback play.
No, and he's the kind of guy, you look at him and he screams at me, he could become Jamarcus Russell or he could become Josh Allen. It could go there. I don't think this is a guy that's going to be he's going to be a meddling kind of quarterback. He's either going to flop bad or he's going to be a big time player. So that's one guy who stood out. I mean, a couple of things. This might be more Dolphin related, that if one of the issues with Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia, who looks like he was a tackle basically with some receiving ability, one of the issues was, what kind of receiver could you develop into in the NFL? I think him running the way he ran, and even though it's one stupid little catch in a combine, that catch he made that made all of the social media, I mean, that's pretty sick stuff.
Yeah, I like him actually in the second round. He's one of those guys that I would take a chance on him. And Tucker Kraft is the other kid I like out of North Dakota State, actually.
Oh, I would love Tucker Kraft because the guy was a complete trip.
Really?
Yeah, beyond what he has as a football player, and then by all accounts, he's a really good prospect who could be there at 51. I'm not seeing Darnell Washington being there at 51, but I got a Gronkowski vibe from him personality wise.
You talk about Tucker now.
I'm talking about Tucker Kraft. He was talking about like tight ends are the best player ever. Everybody wants to be a tight end, and he was just very, very entertaining.
That's one of my second round list is Darnell Washington, Tucker Kraft, Sayaki Ika, and Dewar Jones. What do you think?
Jones, a big tackle.
One more. Hendon Hooker.
Hooker. Yeah. Yeah.
I will not be mad if you take Hendon Hooker at 51. Not at all.
I like Hendon Hooker, and
You like any of the guys I put on that list? Washington, Hooker, Ika, Kraft, or Jones?
Dude, I love Washington. He ain't going to be there.
You're right. But I got to throw it in there just in case. I just got to throw it in there just in case, because he's going to go, I think, just before maybe. Not, I think in the 7 to 10 picks in front of Miami, that's where he goes. 41 to 50. If not, he lands right there to Miami. But I don't think he goes that much higher than that, actually. That's
my over-under for him is 40.
Okay. All right. Any of the other guys you like on that list?
There was one guy you mentioned I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm not familiar with Ika. I'll have to do some research on him. Hooker, I definitely would be on board. I mean, this is somebody who's got very, very intriguing possibilities. And he was another one who was very impressive. And he was asked about the notion. I asked one of his wide receivers, Cedric Tillman, about this idea of he's a product of the system, not going to translate to the NFL. It's a one-read thing. And Hooker was asked the same question. And basically his answer was kind of like, hey, not my fault if my first read's always getting open. And then proceeded to explain that, no, there's a lot more. It's not a simplistic offense where it's very, very simple. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And he was impressive. He certainly checks all the marks.
I see a boatload of talent.
Mm-hmm.
I see a guy that fits this kind of NFL. And you can never have enough quarterbacks. And think about this. That means you've added 3 quarterbacks through the draft. You're now in a pool of developing quarterbacks now. So now Hooker and Skyler can compete to be the number 2 and number 3. Hooker has a lot of athletic ability. So once he does get fully healthy, then you can actually use him as a weapon off of Tua, if you want. And God forbid something happens to Tua, you've got a really good investment in a kid that maybe has a future. And if not, down the line, you're trading either Skyler or Hendon, hopefully for higher picks. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the only issue I would have with that scenario is, and again, the Dolphins have seen the guy practice throughout the regular season. We didn't, because we're not allowed to watch regular season practice. We saw training camp and his in-game performances. If you make that move, I think it's pretty safe to say that Hendon Hooker is not helping or playing a ton as a rookie, regardless of where he goes. So if you draft Hendon Hooker,
that's what we said about Skyler.
Well, and how'd that work out? My point is, but he played. How well did he play? I mean, my point is, if you're going to draft Hendon Hooker, you better have a damn good conviction that Skyler can handle the number 2 role, and there not be a significant drop off when Tua misses game.
You're right.
Otherwise, you're basically saying bye to Skyler.
You're right. But the counter is, okay, do I say, okay, well, I could get Gardner Minshew now, and he can help us keep the ship afloat, or whoever, bro. You name whatever backup that you can get in here. You're not really going to get, Garoppolo to come in here. Right. You're really going to get some kind of a second level guy, Dalton or whatever. So do you say, okay, it's really important for me to get this, or the fact that, okay, Tua has a little bit of an injury history here, and that is a concern. Here's a guy that would be a first-round talent if it wasn't for the knee injury. Maybe this is a kid we could develop down the line, and you just never know. Plus, it's an insurance policy that if something does happen to Tua, and this kid starts to show something a year or 2 down the line, we've got another starting quarterback in Hendon Hooker that we can actually count on. And we or if not, we've developed a guy that we can now all of a sudden trade for, a couple of picks. I just think that you have to look at it that way. Is it that you're that close to winning it all that you've got to have that backup quarterback that can keep the ship afloat? Or do you take a chance and say, hey, you know what? Having another extra young arm there might be beneficial to us, and it might bring us more picks down the line. I don't know. It's kind of it depends on how you want to look at it.
No, and here's the thing. Why? No, and I agree with your point, and I think there's a lot of merit to grabbing Hooker if he's available. Why I don't think it's going to happen is because if you look at the moves the Dolphins have made the past couple of years and the way their salary cap is, they certainly look like they're in go for it right now mode.
Yes.
When you trade for Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb. So Hendon Hooker is a move you made thinking 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So that's why it would surprise me. I don't have an issue with them. In fact, there's part of me that really likes it. I'd be kind of surprised if it happened.
All right, there you go. So we'll see what happens there. I got to address it, I guess. The Josina Anderson stuff. It's just, to me, all this stuff just pisses me off because the Dolphins don't have picks. They don't have cap space. They're not going to change their entire offense to accommodate Lamar Jackson. Mike McDaniel has his kind of offense. Lamar really doesn't fit this kind of offense. I can't see the coach changing everything. And to me, none of it makes sense. Plus, do you know how stupid and what kind of liars Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier would look like when they just keep telling you in every stinking press conference and every other media member, we love Tua, he's our guy, he's the guy here, we're looking forward to it. I mean, I got a soundbite from the one in the combine from you guys, and where he's talking about how excited he is about Tua and how he and McDaniel communicate, how they talk football, and I'm really excited for his future. And then all of a sudden, you're just going to dump him and move on and get another quarterback. I just think they've told you over and over and over again that he's the guy. And if there's one thing that Chris Grier doesn't really do is lie. He may not give you shit in a press conference, but he doesn't give you a bold-faced lie. And neither usually does Mike McDaniel. It's kind of, they'll bullshit you a little bit, like they'll extend some stuff, but they won't really blatantly lie to you. You know what I mean? So I just kind of find this whole thing, any of the reports for Lamar, just fiscally, football-wise, there's so many things of it that don't make sense, besides the fact that they've already told you over and over again that they're committed to Tua. So just you go ahead and go off on what you think about these.
Oh, I know. I have a couple of thoughts. And number one, I actually agree with you that the idea of trading for Lamar Jackson in a lot of ways doesn't make sense. That's number one. Number two, them singing Tua's praise at every turn, if you think about it, why it doesn't mean anything, because if they are indeed exploring something other than Tua as their starting quarterback and it doesn't pan out, what do you want them to say right now? Yeah, no, yes, we are exploring. Of course, they're gonna back him up back him at every occasion publicly, because if he happens to be their quarterback in 2023, which is probably 97-98% certain, you want the guy to know you have his back, which part of what they did last offseason. This notion that of like, well, since they said it, the door is closed. Well, in 2000, and I went back and checked on this, is after the 2020 season, I went back and checked out Chris Grier's end of the season press conference where he said Tua was our starter, and didn't stop him from chasing Deshaun Watson the whole year until the
it
trade.
Wasn't him chasing Deshaun Watson.
It was the Dolphin organization. Stop saying it wasn't him. It was the Dolphin organization.
It's the owner and the coach.
It doesn't matter. It was the Dolphin organization, regardless. After Chris Grier had said Tua was our starter,
they were cock blocking their general manager. The general manager did not want Tom Brady. The general manager did not want Deshaun Watson. It's the other people in the organization that he could not control.
It doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter.
Control his coach trying to backstab him.
You're
going
to tell me that
Bruce Beal.
You're going to tell me that Flo does not go over Chris Grier. Come on, man. And again, I'm
telling you, he was trying to go over Chris Grier. Go to the
owner with Stephen Ross's approval, because Stephen Ross was involved in that chase.
Right, exactly. I'm not arguing with you that the owners and the head coach wanted something else. What I'm telling you is that Chris Grier, Marvin Allen, and Reggie McKenzie, they were all on the Tua bandwagon, have been on the Tua bandwagon, but they got cock blocked because
and that's all great. My point is,
the head coach they hired is a two-timer, is a backstabber, And the idiot owners, they're goofballs. That's why they get caught in the middle of the night going to get Jim Harbaugh. That's just the way it is.
Okay.
You can't stop the owner. He owns the team.
Can I talk for a second? My whole point was they can say what they want. It doesn't mean as an organization that it shuts the door. And here's the other point that hold on.
But it's not Chris Greer lying.
Hold on. He's not lying. He's saying what it is at the moment. Things change. Circumstances change. You also have an owner who is dying to make a mark as a football guy after having a ton of success in business, who's 82 or 83 years old. And who's to say, again, I don't, the logistics probably don't work, but who's to say he doesn't tell Chris Greer, Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play in Green Bay anymore, go get Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Okay. But that doesn't mean Chris Greer's lying to you. It's just
I'm not saying he's lying to me. I'm saying that just the fact that he says Tua was our starter doesn't mean slam dunk, it's over, no end of conversation. That's what I mean.
I'm with you on that, but let's just understand that Greer is not lying to people. It's just that he can't control the owner. And so the owners, especially Beal, oh no, hey, I'm buddies with Brady. We could get him. And then all they do is get him in trouble. And that's why Bruce Beal isn't taking over now, because he's the slapdick that made them lose a first and a third rounder. And I'm sure him and Ross probably had a falling out because of this. And that's why his ass is out now. And he's not going to take over.
And here's the other issue. I don't know why people get so upset, so offended, unless you have a slam dunk headed to Hall of Fame guy. Why is it so offensive to people that the Dolphins would be exploring every option? Don't you want to explore every option at every position to get better? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But at this point, the front office is not exploring any options at quarterback. They're exploring options at backup quarterback because their plan is to move forward with their current quarterback. What they want to do is build around him better. That's what they're trying to do by adding a defensive coordinator, by probably adding another offensive lineman. That's what they probably want to do, is to build it better around him. They're committed to him.
It's not about building around him. It's about building the best possible team. And now, if you're saying that Josina Anderson, who's a reporter who's been around a long time, is lying to you when she said she had sources.
No, I think she has terrible sources. I think she has, and notice how she says NFL sources. She doesn't say Dolphin sources because she ain't getting it from the Dolphins. She's probably getting it from some agent. She's getting some badass information. The Dolphins are not looking for any starting quarterback. I know for a fact they're looking for a backup quarterback, but I know for a fact they're not looking for no starter. They're not trying to replace Tua at all. They're not in position if they even wanted to. Even if they decided to do it, it would be so hard cap-wise to even acquire an Aaron Rodgers or something like that.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Answer honestly. If they come to find out that Aaron Rodgers indeed tells the Packers, I'm not playing with you anymore, you actually think that there's a 0% chance the Dolphins do not at least talk internally about seeing if they can make it work?
Yes, I think it's 0% chance.
That's all I'm saying. You think there's a 0% chance? You're crazy.
Zero.
You're crazy.
Zero.
If you don't think that they talk about it.
I think the front office is do we have all the idiots out of the way, right? Is Flores out of the way and the owners are out of the way? Okay, if it's just the front office, they're dead set on Tua. The entire plan is Tua. Trust me, the entire plan is Tua. Okay? I put my life on it. The entire plan is Tua. I told everybody as the season ended because I got the information from the building. The entire plan is Tua. Okay? They have never deviated. The guys in the front office have never deviated from this. They want a backup quarterback, and they need to build a better team around them, whether it's defensive coordinator or add more positions. That's what's going to happen this offseason. That's what their plan is. They need to find out about everything, and especially they're going to try to move forward with Tua this year and see if implementing everything that they do, will he do the things he has to do as a player in order to stay healthy? If all of that works out, then you'll see the extension, in the future. For me, from what I've been told, okay, and I haven't been misled on all this stuff, they're going forward with Tua. That's what I'm told.
Okay, here's the other point too. Another thing that needs to be mentioned is Tua had an 80, led the league in passer rating. Awesome. Great job. Did a good job of maximizing what he had around him on offense. Passer rating of 80 after December. That needs to improve, because you're not going to tell me they're going to go ahead, even if he stays healthy, if that doesn't improve, that they're going to go full steam ahead for the long term.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that, dude.
Okay.
I get that needs to improve. I understand that, but he was also concussed in one half of those games in that Green Bay game, which obviously killed his, his rating. But I mean, overall, he played a hell of a game against Buffalo, and he had 2 great quarters against Green Bay. The rest of that month, yeah, it was ugly. I get it. I totally understand that. But I've also seen him come back. I've also seen him win games. I've seen him win games. I've also watched the Dolphins play the best they've ever played against the Bills this season with Tua and then Skyler at the end. So this team's as close as it's ever been to Buffalo. Plus, I think Buffalo's going to have some issues this year keeping people. I think Buffalo takes a step back, where Miami, I think, has a chance to take a step forward next year and even cut the gap there. So I think there's a lot of things headed in the right direction. They just need luck, Alan. That's the way I look at it. Last year was about a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad injuries at the worst time. And if they can figure some of that shit out and get some breaks, I think they'll be fine, bro. Well,
they made the playoffs last year.
You can talk about December all you want with the injuries and the shit that happened there to him.
It wasn't just the injury. Sorry, it wasn't just.
This is the best quarterback you've covered since Marino. Those are the facts, and that's what cannot be denied. Right? That's what can't be denied. So you don't get rid of the best quarterback you've had since Marino. Okay. Right?
You have to. Well, let's talk at the end of 2023.
No. Last year was the best quarterback you've seen since Marino. Correct?
Chad Pennington, 2008 was pretty damn impressive. Again, Big O. Forget you keep forgetting what he had around him. You keep forgetting.
Dude, he was impressive.
Yeah, Tua was a game manager last year with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They're the ones who did the bulk of the work. Stop it.
That he took the time to not turn over the ball. That's it. But he was never as aggressive and made the plays that Tua made.
He didn't have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And
by the way, Tua's one of the worst at yaks. So it wasn't about yak.
It's about guys getting open downfield, 20 yards downfield with nobody around them, making for a lot of easy throws.
Again, I'm sorry. The ball's getting there, bro. I'm sorry. The ball.
I'm not saying he didn't do Eric. Big O. I'm not saying he didn't do a good job. I'm saying let's not discount how easy it. Not always. I want to be careful how I say this. Let's not discount the impact. Let's not discount the impact of those 2 absolute freak shows. Speed-wise on the outside, when you have not only the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, you probably have the second fastest wide receiver in the NFL. And defense
doesn't matter, bro. You still got to play the game, bro. You still got to complete the passes.
I understand that, but when they weren't covered down the stretch,
quite frankly, comparing Pennington to Tua last year was pretty much an insult. Okay,
it's different offenses, Big O. I'm talking about quality of the performance. I know. Big O, I know you're a massive Tua cheerleader.
Yes, I am.
I tend to like to be a bit more critical when it needs to be critical. We're going to have to disagree. To me, I need
critical. You won't even agree like wholeheartedly. This is the best quarterback since Marino. Do you know how biased that sounds? That isn't even up for argument or discussion, Alan. Like you can't even bring up Pennington in the same sentence. That's so biased on your part. Like, how can you not say this is the best quarterback
season the season that he had?
Yes. Kid played lights out. He's awesome.
He played lights out with a ton of yes, yeah, Big O. Yes, you know what? I will give you that. But let's not pretend he's Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert or anybody like that.
I never said that. All I said was
you have during the year because you've been shitting on Justin Herbert left and right.
Covered. All I said was he's the best quarterback you've covered since Marino. That's all I've said. That's
okay,
it.
I'll give you that one, but it's a damn low bar.
Okay, fine.
I'll give you that one.
Okay, so, but it goes to the same fans out there that want to get rid of the best quarterback you've had since Marino. I love how people sound like Miami can replace him that easily. Like, yeah, no, we'll go get a guy that's better than him. Like, we haven't had one since Marino, but we're going to find one better than the one that you have now. That's, it's just like,
No, they go. Be fair with me here. I have never advocated moving on from him unless there's a better option.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, and that's all I've said. My only thing is I don't think he's quite the quarterback that a lot of you guys think he is. That's all. Okay, but no, I'm not for. I had never advocated for just dumping him for the sake of dumping him and moving on. I just see the AFC and having to deal with Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Allen, and Lawrence for the next 6 or 7 years. So the Dolphins better be damn good at quarterback, and if that happens to be Tua, great. But I didn't like what I saw in December, and of course we have the durability issues.
All right. So, what do you got going on alldolphins.com so they can check you out, my friend?
Talk about a segue. We went from like a little bit of okay.
We're at the top of the hour, bro.
Oh, okay. So, I'm continuing to update their Dolphins free agency tracker with all the news, latest development. The latest one being, all the signs. I've said before, like, don't be surprised if the Dolphins simply run it back at pun intended, run it back at running back with the same guys. And Jeff Wilson, has come out and basically said that's his hope too. And to me, there's no reason to move on for that. Again, as with Tua, no reason to move on for the sake of moving on. The Dolphins had a good situation with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. Also going to keep tabs on the players who come onto the market because, yes, we're going. It's worthwhile exploring. Like Eric Kendricks, linebacker from the Vikings, was released Monday morning, and the initial thought was, well, that'd be a good pickup for the Dolphins. Well, maybe not, and I kind of explained why. And we're going to do a couple of things draft related this afternoon.
I want Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, I do. Dolphins are going to be the only ones who are going to go be after.
They're going to get Wagner and they're going to get Poyer.
Works for me. Sold.
Okay. That's how they're going to work it. They're going to get Wagner and Poyer.
Sold.
Okay. And then there'll be linemen in that second and third round that they'll go after, maybe a corner. Kind of what they'll do.
And a tight end.
Or tight end. That'll be like kind of those guys that they'll go for.
A great year for tight ends in the draft. It's one of the best years.
I'm looking Poyer and Wagner coming to Miami to help the Dolphins win a Super Bowl title.
Works for me.
There you go. Okay. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. And, of course, you've got to bookmark alldolphins.com and make sure you tell him that Tua is the best quarterback since Marino. Okay, make sure you tell him that. Also,
I gave you that one, Big O. I gave you that one. Don't need to.
Yeah, after we had to struggle with you on the mat there for a while, had to pin you down a little bit there finally, and the count was in, and you finally gave it up.
In terms of seasons, Bennington's 2008 was pretty damn impressive too.
Oh, it was awesome.
He wasn't. But you're right. He wasn't asked to do a ton. It was basically,
He took care of the ball is what he did. He was masterful and not turning over the ball until the Ravens game, of course, in the playoffs.
They were completely overwhelmed and
then they got mollywopped.
Yeah,
unfortunately, like they used to get mollywopped by the Ravens. But now that we have Tua 2-0 the last 2 years, baby. 2-0. Ha. See you later, Alan. That is Alain Poupart with our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report. And please call Eric. Listen, if you're looking for major home remodeling and construction, you call my guy, Eric, 305-433-4843, Dade or Broward County, not in Palm Beach, all right? I'm sorry because I've misled a few and I've said, and you've called from Palm Beach, and He's like, hey, make sure you tell him no Palm Beach. I got too much business. We got to go Dade and Broward. So he does Dade and Broward County. If you're looking for, you need to upgrade your roof to get that new hurricane policy, he can do that for you. Expand the home, modernize the kitchen, backyards. People are doing their backyards now. They're building all kinds of stuff in their backyards. Guest house, what is it, like huts with kitchens and barbecues, all kinds of stuff you guys are building. So call EJD Construction, fully insured too. So everybody that steps on your property is insured. So if they get injured, you will not get sued. Please. Okay, I tell you this about Cutter's Edge. I tell you this about EJD Construction. Even if you don't hire them and you got to hire somebody else, please, please, please. I don't care where you're at in the country. Okay. Do not hire anybody that is not fully insured, because the workers, they know the laws better than you do. And they know if they get injured on your property, they can sue you. Okay? So please do not hire, and make sure they prove it to you that they're fully insured before they step on your property. Okay? So EJD Construction, fully insured. Workers' comp, liability, you name it, they are fully insured. 305-433-4843.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.